If you're making an AI podcast, should you use NotebookLM or upstart Jellypod? Well, to answer that question, I decided to put them to the test, head to head. To help guide the competition, I picked 8 of the most important categories from traditional podcasting: research, hosts, languages and naturalness, interactivity, narrative, accuracy, and distribution. The final question: what should the podcast be about? What's better and more meta than the future of AI podcasting? Let's start with the research category. Here's research in NotebookLM. So we're going to create a new notebook. All right, so we got lots of different sources, different options. We can add in sources like files, PDFs, etc., Google Docs, Google Slides, websites, videos, text, and the NotebookLM Plus, we get up to 300 sources. This is pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and add in some websites, some random ones about use cases for AI podcasts, some feature blogs, a most recent one from NotebookLM, a use case from Jellypod. And here are some blog articles that I found talking about both comparisons and each tool individually. All right, awesome. So just like that, we've got our 6 sources added. And honestly, I'm curious about this discover sources piece. Let's try this. Discover something you'd like to learn. I'd like to learn about the future of AI podcasting. Okay, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Different combination. I mean, future of artificial intelligence doesn't seem to exactly relate to what I'm talking about, but everything else seems pretty good around future of AI podcasting, future of podcasting, future of content, class lessons. Awesome. The rest seems to make sense. Let's get rid of this one as well. But this is really cool. I was able to just add 8 sources fairly instantaneously. And all right, now they're all being processed. That's awesome. I mean, you can definitely see the research power behind this. It's fairly awesome. I do see that despite all of this content, we're still kind of a focus on doctors, which was just one use case, but I'm interested to see how this pans out. Here's research in Jellypod. I've made a podcast about the future of AI podcasting, and I'm going to go ahead and click Create New Episode. And this begins the research canvas. It's a different version than the NotebookLM one, but some similar things. So we've got the ability to attach files. There are about 50 different file types, including things like PowerPoints, Excel spreadsheets, images. We have the ability to do web search. So I think this is similar to Discover Sources. Well, we'll see. We'll give it a try. And then we've got add sources, which is things like text ideas and URLs as well. So let's go ahead and add a bunch of the URLs that we just saw. All right, and lastly, let's add in information about the future of AI podcasting. Let's take a look. All right, it's pulled in 6 different sources here, given a bit more of a pared down version. So I guess it's looking specifically for what I asked, and it is finding information from these various sources. And then it shows me the 6 sources below. Very cool. So I can review these for accuracy. Very cool. All right. So I only get 10 sources, which is, I think, plenty for a single episode, depending on what your episode is about. There's only so much information you can stuff into a single place. But then again, there are only 10 sources available. Though using something like web search, I pulled in 6 sources, so it depends on how exactly you count that. It's hard to argue with 300 sources. Research goes to NotebookLM. Here's host or voice customization in NotebookLM. So we've heard the initial podcast, but now let's see if we can change the voice's accents or maybe have them have a different kind of personality, a different kind of backstory. So let's see if we can make them like a British Gen Z high schooler. Tell me that's impossible. Is that even possible I think we can guide them a little bit for style. So we can give a little bit of host backstory. Let's see. Make the hosts British Gen Z high schoolers. Let's give it a listen.
Ugh, my brain is like fried trying to keep up with like everything.
I know, right? It's like information overload times a million.
Yeah. Seriously though, it's like you just want the good bits, the like important stuff, without having to wade through like all the boring stuff.
Yeah, like just get to the point already.
Exactly.
Interesting. Yeah. So no accent control, but there is definitely an impact to how the hosts speak. But it almost feels like they're doing an impression of a new character versus actually becoming that character. They sort of got into it and then kind of got away from it. Nonetheless, some control over hosts, but not quite customization. Here's voices or hosts in Jellypod. So I'm going to click over into hosts here, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. And let's say we've got a lot of different options. Let's say we want a middle-aged British male, Nigel Harrington. Nigel is a great name. And let's see, we've got lots of different options here. Let's give it a listen.
The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
If you really think you're alone at night, hiding under the covers.
Hey there and welcome. Grab a coffee, settle in, and relax.
All right, cool. So there is customization around the voices for sure. Let's see if there's different accents. Let's say Australian.
Tonight, we investigate true crime.
Whilst many new voice talent had great audio.
Okay, very cool. So there are lots of different accents that you can do. And let's go look at these other tabs here as well. Okay, voice clone. So I can immediately begin to clone my own accent, my own unique accent here. Voice design. And this is the ability to design a voice completely from scratch, a net new voice. Let's see.
Join me, Nigel Thornton, as we journey.
Join me, Nigel Thornton.
Join me, Nigel Thornton.
Okay, very cool. So there's a lot of different voice and accent customization that you can do inside of Jellypod. That is awesome. With accents from around the world, host backstories, and the ability to clone your own voice, I think hosts goes to Jellypod. Here's internationalization in NotebookLM. So I've just changed my my account settings. I can change my primary language to be a different language of my own. I chose Spanish, and we'll see how it does. Let's give it a listen.
All right, so welcome to the deep dive. And we've been, so if you're making a podcast, you could have a thing we have now.
That would be amazing.
Predict exactly where it's going.
All right, well, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I've changed my language to Spanish. Most of the output is in Spanish, but I think the voices for some reason are still in American middle-aged English. But also, post in the comments, let me know if I'm doing something wrong to be able to change these voices to Spanish. Here's languages in Jellypod. Okay, so in the host section, I can create a new host and pull up a Spanish voice.
Las ideas son los puntos de partida de todas las...
Capítulo 1. Comprendí. Ellos han prometido que los sueños se cumplen, pero olvidaron.
It definitely sounds like the host can be different languages. España, a podcast about Spanish news, politics, sports, and general history. And here I can go ahead and set 29 different languages. This one's tough because Google is definitely the king of internationalization. But just based on ease of use and the ability for anyone who speaks any one language to make content in 29 different languages, I think Jellypod takes the lead. Here's Naturalness in NotebookLM.
All right, so we are diving into something that is changing like incredibly rapidly, and that's AI and podcasting.
Yeah, and it's something that people have been talking about, wanting to learn more about, without kind of going too deep. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly what we're going to try to do here, is not go too deep in the weeds, but really like give you a good handle on what's happening. We've looked through a bunch of stuff, like articles about the new tools that are out there, discussions about podcasts that are actually made by AI now. Yeah. And we've gotten some insights from experts too on where this whole thing could be going.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are really wondering, like, what is the impact going to be?
Very cool. I mean, the natural banter, it almost feels like these two people are in the same room, that they know each other. That the conversation flows very nicely. Still waiting for them to get into the subject, but I think that the naturalness is incredible. Here's naturalness or banter in Jellypod.
Welcome to the Future of AI Podcasting podcast. I'm Timothy Barnwell, and joining me is Sheila.
You know, when podcasting first started in the early 2000s, it was almost revolutionary in its simplicity.
A handful of people would record their thoughts, maybe throw in some interviews, and distribute the files as MP3s. Back then, it seemed like such a fringe medium.
It's wild to think about, isn't it? Like all you needed was a mic, some basic recording software, and boom, you were broadcasting to, well, probably like 10 people at first.
Exactly. It didn't matter if your audience was small. It was this incredibly democratic way to share your voice with the world.
Okay, very cool. I mean, the voices sound great. The conversation is back and forth. There's a little bit less banter. It feels less like two best friends that are just, saying a lot about nothing, and more like two presenters trying to get across a point. So it definitely is different in the naturalness or the conversational banter piece. All right, when it comes to naturalness and banter and conversational dynamic, it is hard to compete with the magic of NotebookLM. Here's interactivity on NotebookLM. In a word, what do you think the future of AI podcasting will be?
In a word, evolving.
That's a great way to put it.
It feels like we're on the cusp of big changes.
And AI is definitely a major catalyst.
Very cool. I mean, the interactivity is natural. It pulls me in. The response time, the latency is fairly quick. So it is cool that I can, ask questions. Here's interactivity in Jellypod. So you can watch the video, you can read, but you can't really interact with the content. You can't ask questions of it. You can't interrupt it. There's not quite any meaningful interaction functionality in Jellypod. It's all tied up. But honestly, right now, it couldn't be clearer. NotebookLM takes the lead with interactivity. Here's narrative in NotebookLM. Okay, so we had our first episode, but now I think I would like for it to be, unique. I want it to jump right into a title. I don't want to talk about doctors at all. Like the doctor point should be a minor footnote. So let's try some of this stuff. All right. Doctor example should be minor. The host should introduce themselves as part of the future of AI podcasting podcast. All right, seems like doctors are still the focus, but maybe that's just the title. Let's listen to it.
Welcome back to the Future of AI Podcasting.
I'm excited to be here.
It's going to be a great deep dive today.
Looking forward to it.
So we're going to be talking about the evolving landscape of podcasting today, specifically focusing on the impact of AI.
That's right.
And we've got some pretty interesting sources that we've been looking at. We've got articles about some of the latest AI podcasting tools, like DigitalOcean has some AI and ML products, and there's this NotebookLM and Jellypod. And
okay, very cool. So I think some of my narrative guidance came through. They're opening up with the title, which is great. They introduce themselves. I don't really know who they are, but nonetheless, a good intro of the show. And, I'll have to listen to the entire show, but my one major gripe is the goal is to have this be the past, present, and future of AI podcasting as the structure, but it sounds like they're going to mainly be focused on the impact. So I'm interested to see where that narrative goes, but right now it's sort of, it got maybe a third of the way there. Here's narrative in Jellypod. Okay, so I just got done adding in all of my research sources, and now I've been given a outline of the story arc. So this is a really cool way where I can start to immediately control how this episode will unfurl. And if I don't like something, I can change it. So I like that it didn't overemphasize this notion of the medical profession, but it is the number one thing mentioned in the first list of the title, and it's the beginnings of the entire podcast. I'd like to change that. So I'm going to go ahead and actually remove that chapter entirely. Well, you know what? I actually want to see how much I can shape this narrative. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all the chapters, and I'm going to add the past of podcasting, the present of AI podcasting, the future of AI podcasting, mention key details and use cases. I'm going to add that throughout, and I'm going to call this thing the first episode in the Future of AI Podcasting series. Awesome. And then I'll go ahead and press generate script. All right, seemed like the outline, the general structure has held. Very cool. With NotebookLM's open-ended guidance, you want it to win out on narrative, but unfortunately it keeps trying to tell its story. But with Jellypod, the ability to change up chapters, change up outline structure, and really get it to say what you want it to say, I think this clearly goes to Jellypod. Here's script editing in NotebookLM. So let's see. I don't think there's a way to actually directly edit the script. You can chat with it in interactive mode, but it doesn't seem like your contributions in interactive mode. So, even if you were to guide the conversation, those aren't reflected in the file that you can actually download. So you're pretty much stuck with what they have here. Let's see if we can change something about the audio overview. Let's give it a listen.
Okay, so you've sent in a ton of really interesting stuff on AI and podcasting.
A lot to unpack.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
Right. It doesn't seem like any of our script edits were enforced at the beginning of the episode. Perhaps they found their way into other parts, but it doesn't seem like I can really get to high accuracy controls. So if there are mistakes or just things that I want to say differently, like a branded podcast, this is not going to do it for me. Here's script editing in Jellypod. So I can immediately start to edit the transcript. Let's say I want to create something branded like, welcome to the future of AI podcasting podcast. I'm Timothy Barnwell. Very cool. So just like that, I can really edit almost anything, break things apart, change up who says them. The script is totally in my control. I know it's all tied up, but this one wasn't even close. When it comes to script editing, there's no comparison. Jellypod has the win there. Here's distribution in NotebookLM. So up top, seems pretty clear. You can immediately go and hit share. I've got the ability to share with individuals, groups, very cool. I can even add a welcome note. Okay, awesome. So I can begin to brand my experience. Welcome, future. People can see the whole notebook. Very cool. I'll copy the link. Save. All right, let's take a look. Okay, so immediately I'm forced to log in, so I can't give it a listen unless I have a Google account. There must be another way that I'm missing the ability to share. But nonetheless, it's cool to be able to, within a single link, be able to get your podcast out to folks. I think that is it's the first big step in distribution. Let's see what they have on analytics, see if it's been shared over 4 users. So on top of the ability to share, once you have over 4 viewers, you'll get some analytics about how people are engaging with your podcast. Here's distribution in Jellypod. So I've got my first episode created, and I've got a few options here. I can download the video, I can download the audio, which is great, very similar to NotebookLM. I can also download the captions, which is cool. I can share the URL. Okay, very cool. So I have an immediate ungated page that people can immediately consume, read along, watch along, listen along, whatever is needed. Oh, and also what's neat is on the right, I've got a custom website with the subdomain that I made. And you get an embeddable player, different styling to add into your website. We also get Spotify integration, Apple, YouTube, and an RSS feed. So really there's a lot of ways in which you can distribute your podcast that's made on Jellypod. I'm hoping for a tie, but analytics can't do it. Gated share URLs can't do it. the ability to distribute on all major platforms, and a variety of other things like embedded players and custom websites, Jellypod wins distribution. Well, there you have it. After running both tools through the same topic, the same categories, Jellypod wins 5-3. So NotebookLM brings incredible source depth and uncanny banter, but Jellypod wins on voices, customization, control, and polish meant for professional podcasts. It honestly feels like apples and oranges. NotebookLM is a tool for the mind. It can help anyone learn anything. Jellypod is built for AI-powered storytelling. I think it comes down to one thing. Who do you want telling the story? You or AI? The future of podcasting won't be one size fits all, and these two tools prove it.